Well, at the same time, the Democratic Alliance's motion of no confidence in President Zuma will be debated in Parliament today. This follows Zuma's decision to axe Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene in December last year. Well, to preview this debate and help us unpack some of the insights a little further, this morning we joined in the studio by Political Analyst Ralph Mathekga. Ralph, good morning and thank you very much for your time.
Good morning.
We do know that this is not the first motion of no confidence that has been brought against President Jacob Zuma in Parliament. And we also know that the ones in the past were defeated. The ANC, of course, is in the majority in Parliament. And just by sheer numbers and also previous arguments, they won. They defeated the previous motions of no confidence. But this one is happening at a different time in terms of where the country is at currently. How should we be looking at this motion of no confidence debate today in Parliament?
Certainly, I have actually lost count regarding the number of times President Jacob Zuma has had to face motion of no confidence in Parliament. And as you correctly stated, now I think circumstances have changed quite dramatically. This motion comes after the bungling within Treasury last year. It comes around the rand having taken such a nosedive out of that, and also the whole uncertainty regarding the economy. There are issues that have been raised about the state capture and so forth. And I think that it was quite opportune for the DA to stage this motion. But I think that we know that it is highly unlikely that President Jacob Zuma will be fired through this motion or will be released of his responsibilities. It doesn't really matter much about how the vote goes. And I think that the issue here is looking at watching ANC MPs having to defend the president against the backdrop of what has happened since March,
what should
December
be watching for?
last year.
Watching how they argue their defense. What are they saying in his defense?
The most important thing is to look at the enthusiasm at which they will be defending him. But also, let's also do the roll count. Let's keep a close eye as to who is going to be there. Are there MPs who will try to avoid being in Parliament today? Because I think that if you look at what has happened since last year, there seems to be the decline of enthusiasm when it comes to defending President Jacob Zuma. People seem to be no longer willing to be at the forefront of mounting such kind of defense. I mean, you looked at the State of the Nation debate that has happened a couple of weeks ago. The objections, the point of orders that were raised when Mr. Malema was castigating the president, much fewer than it used to be the case. The question now, I think, going into this motion is whether NC members, are they going to look through the nation and go ahead and enthusiastically defend their president? What would be the ground for such a defense? Are they going to be able to actually re-ground this motion to say that, as I've seen in the media saying it's a deflection from race issues? Is that going to hold? Are they going to stand by that and defend their president? That, I think, is what to watch out for.
Okay, we've seen the DA, though, for its part, they've been doing a lot of work in trying to get lobbying. They've created an online platform where they've invited citizens to write to ANC MPs and the caucus of the ANC in Parliament to ask them to vote in favor of the motion of no confidence. And according to their figures, they got more than 800,000 people in the public letters writing and saying, guys, please, can you vote differently this time? Do you think that will sway the ANC MPs?
Well, I don't think it will sway them, but it will make it difficult for them to take the traditional posture of just dismissing any motion that is motion of no confidence being raised against the president. And I think that it is a good thing. We should actually commend the process of getting people involved, because the battle between the ANC, or maybe the leadership of the ANC, and the DA and EFF should not only be within those parties. You should get people involved. And having a petition such as this, getting people involved, I think that shows the maturity of the political process, so that political parties do not think that solution only resides with them. They need to check with the people as to whether should we go ahead with this. And in relation to this, we are saying they have about 800,000 people who signed to this. It's a significant number by any margin.
Okay, just finally, very briefly, we've seen them, the DA as well, appealing to the 72 ministers and deputy ministers to recuse themselves because the DA claims there will be a conflict of interest. You know, they can't vote for somebody who's employing them, who's appointed them in kind of that. And also writing to Baleka Mbete as a speaker to allow a secret ballot when it comes to the voting time on this issue. I don't know if those two things they'll succeed to get.
Well, the first thing about members of the executive, I've always had a concern concern that we seem to be going with the old constitution in South Africa, where members of the executive are at the same time members of parliament. We need to go back to that. Beyond this motion, I've had a problem with that why would you have members of the executive being members of parliament? How can you exercise accountability? How can they exercise accountability on themselves? That is just untenable. But that, I think, is a longer vision issue that we need to look at. And I think that, you know, trying to get the speaker, that's not going to work. To get the speaker to recuse herself, that's not going to work. But at least it's worth making a point on.
Okay, thank you very much. That's political analyst Ralph Mathekga.